The city was alive with neon light and falling rain. Tall towers stood like silent giants, their glass windows glowing in the night. People rushed through the streets, their heads down, chasing time and ignoring everything around them. No one looked left or right. No one cared for a stranger. In the middle of this cold stream of people walked a girl. Her steps were weak, her hands shaking as she held a tiny piece of paper money. It was all she had, just $2, worn and almost useless. Her clothes were thin, not made for this weather. Her eyes were large and strange, glowing faintly under the street lamps. But nobody stopped to notice. To the people, she was just another lost soul in the crowd. The rain grew heavier, drops striking her shoulders like cold needles. She searched for shelter, a corner, even a doorway, but everywhere was closed. Shops locked, restaurants pushing her away, security drones hovering with warning lights. Her voice was soft as she whispered, "Please, just a bed, only for tonight." But the words drowned in the noise of footsteps and engines. No one cared to listen. She tightened her grip on the $2, her last hope. If she could just buy food or a blanket, maybe she could survive the night. But every place she tried demanded more. The girl's body trembled, not just from the cold, but from fear. She was running, though she did not know how much longer she could keep going. Through the crowd came a human man. He walked with strong steps, his shoulders squared, his eyes sharp. He was not like the others who hurried past. His gaze scanned every corner, every shadow, as if danger could appear at any moment. His clothes were plain, a worker's jacket and boots, but his body carried the memory of discipline. A soldier's posture, a fighter's walk. The girl noticed him, though she tried to look away. Her kind had learned to fear humans. But this one stopped, his eyes locking on her trembling frame. For a moment, the world seemed to pause. The hum of drones, the rush of the crowd, the noise of the rain faded into silence. Only his eyes and her shivering body filled the moment. He stepped closer, slow, careful. The girl took a step back, clutching her money as if it could protect her. "Are you lost?" he asked, his voice low but strong. She shook her head quickly, though tears glimmered in her strange eyes. I just need a bed. Only for tonight," she whispered. Her voice cracked like glass breaking. He looked at her thin arms, her wet hair, her bare hands shaking from the cold. Something in his chest tightened. He remembered faces he had seen in the war. Refugees with nothing, children holding scraps, survivors begging for shelter. And here she was, another soul abandoned by the world. The man frowned, torn between walking away and helping. His life was simple now, quiet, and he liked it that way. He had promised himself never to get involved again. But something about her eyes, something about the way she clung to those $2 pulled at him. He asked, "Where are your people?" Her head dropped. Her silence answered louder than words. The man knew then. She was alone, completely alone. The rain beat harder, a cold wind rushing through the alley. She swayed on her feet, close to falling. Without thinking, the man took off his jacket and placed it around her shoulders. The girl froze, shocked by the sudden warmth. Her glowing eyes lifted to his face, wide with confusion and fear. "You'll freeze out here," he said simply. "Come with me." The girl hesitated, her heart racing. Every story she had heard about humans told her not to trust. But in this moment, with the world against her, this man was the only one who stopped, the only one who offered more than a cold glance. She looked at her $2, then back at him. Her lips trembled as she whispered, "Please, only one night." He nodded, his expression firm. "One night," he agreed. But deep inside, he already knew this choice would change everything. The girl followed him slowly, her body weak but her spirit fighting to survive. The crowd did not notice them slip away into the darker streets. No one cared, but the city had witnessed the beginning of something unusual, a moment where kindness cut through the cold. And in that single act, the path of both human and alien began to change. The small apartment was quiet, far from the noise of the city. The man closed the door behind them, locking it with an old mechanical bolt. He preferred metal locks, not digital codes, because metal did not lie and it did not fail when power cut out. The girl stood in the center of the room, dripping water onto the floor, her thin shoes soaked, her body wrapped in the jacket he had given her. The jacket looked too big on her, the sleeves hanging past her hands, but the warmth made her cheeks glow faintly. He set down his bag, removing heavy boots and placing them neatly near the door. His movements were controlled, like someone who had lived by rules for many years. The girl's glowing eyes followed him carefully, cautious, unsure if his kindness was real or if it was just a trick. Her heart pounded as she clutched the $2 tightly in her hand. She whispered, "I can pay. I can give this for the bed." Her voice shook, carrying both pride and fear. The man turned, staring at the small piece of money. $2 meant nothing in this city, not even enough for a meal. But the way she held it, as if it was her last shield against the world, made him pause. He shook his head, pushing her hand gently down. "Keep it," he said, his voice calm but firm. "You don't need to pay me." The girl froze, her lips parting in shock. In her world, nothing came free. Every step, every breath, every moment of safety had a price. Why would a human, of all creatures, offer her shelter without demanding something in return? Her eyes narrowed, searching his face for signs of lies, but she found none. The soldier's gaze was steady, his posture strong, his words simple. He walked to the small heater in the corner and switched it on. The soft hum filled the silence as warmth spread through the room. He gestured toward a chair. "Sit. You're shaking." Slowly, the girl obeyed, her body sinking into the chair, her fingers clinging to the jacket. For the first time that night, she let out a shaky breath, almost like relief. The man studied her quietly, his thoughts heavy. He had promised himself never to get involved again. The war had ended years ago, but the ghosts never left him. He remembered broken cities, starving refugees, children crying in the ruins while soldiers marched past. He had walked away from all of it, searching for peace, searching for a life with no more choices. Yet here she was, sitting in his chair, her eyes glowing like faint lanterns in the dark, and he knew peace had ended the moment he stopped for her. He asked softly, "Where are you from?" Her shoulders tensed, her hands clenching around the fabric of his jacket. "I can't say," she whispered, her voice so low it was almost lost in hum of the heater. He leaned closer, his eyes sharp, not out of anger, but out of instinct. He was trained to notice lies, to sense when someone was hiding something, and everything about her screamed of secrets. Her silence was an answer in itself. The girl was not just a lost wanderer. She was running from something or someone. His jaw tightened as he realized what this meant. If she was being hunted, then danger was already close. By letting her in, he had opened his door not only to her, but also to whatever threat followed. He could still turn her out. He could open the door and tell her to leave, to survive on her own. That choice would keep his life simple, safe, untouched by shadows. But when he looked at her, her small figure trembling, her glowing eyes filled with both fear and hope, he felt something shift inside him. He remembered the helpless ones from years ago, the ones he could not save. Was he about to repeat the same mistake, to walk away once again? The girl lifted her head, her voice breaking. "Please, just one night," she said again, her words heavy with desperation. "One night is all I need, then I will go." Her eyes glimmered with hidden tears. Her fragile strength made his chest ache in a way he had not felt in years. The soldier looked out the window, neon lights flashing against the rain-streaked glass. The city was cruel, cold, merciless. He had seen it chew up people stronger than her, and she would not last an hour alone. His hand clenched into a fist as he made his choice. "You can stay," he said at last, his voice steady. "But listen," his tone hardened, the edge of command slipping back into his voice. "If you're in danger, if someone is after you, then they will come here too." She flinched at his words, confirming what he already suspected. He leaned closer, his eyes sharp. "If I protect you, I need the truth." The girl's lips parted, trembling, but no words came. Instead, she turned her glowing eyes toward the heater, where faint marks began to appear on her skin. Symbols, delicate and strange, shining softly as the warmth reached her. The soldier stared, his mind racing. This was no ordinary refugee. This girl carried something alien, something dangerous. And whether he liked it or not, his choice had already tied his fate to hers. The room was small but warm, filled with the faint hum of old machines and the soft glow of electric lamps. The soldier moved with steady steps, his mind sharp, his body alert, though on the outside he looked calm. The girl sat near the heater, wrapped in his jacket, her eyes glowing faintly as strange marks pulsed across her skin like hidden stars. She tried to hide them, pulling the sleeves tighter, but he had already seen, and silence stretched heavy between them. He broke it first, his voice low but steady. "Those marks, they're not from this world, are they?" The girl flinched, her breath caught. She looked down at the floor, her fingers digging into the fabric of the jacket. I didn't choose this," she whispered, her voice almost breaking. "They put it in me, the traffickers." Her words carried pain, fear, and shame, and each one cut into the air like a blade. The soldier's jaw tightened, his memories stirring like restless ghosts. He had seen traffickers before, people who hunted the weak, who sold lives like they were coins. He had fought them once, long ago, and every time he thought of it, rage burned in his chest. Now, he looked at the girl and saw not just her fear, but also the chains she still carried inside her. She lifted the $2 with a shaking hand, placing it on the table as if it was payment. Her eyes were wet as she whispered, "It's all I have, but I don't want to owe you." He looked at the money for a long moment before pushing it back to her. "Keep it," he said firmly. "Your life is worth more than that." Her throat tightened, tears threatening to fall, because no one had ever spoken to her like that. For so long, every human she had met wanted to buy, to bargain, to take something in return. But this man, this soldier, wanted nothing except for her to survive. It felt strange, almost dangerous, to trust him, but her heart leaned toward his words like a dying flame, reaching for air. The soldier stepped closer, kneeling so his eyes met hers. "If they mark you, they will come," he said, his tone serious. "Those marks are a signal, a beacon, and they won't stop until they have you back." Her body trembled. The truth she tried to hide, now forced into the open. "I know," she whispered. "They're already looking for me, and if they find me here, you'll—" Her voice cracked before she finished, but he understood. They would kill him. They would burn everything around him to drag her back. For a long moment, silence filled the room, broken only by the hum of the heater and the faint sound of rain outside. The soldier's mind raced, balancing risk and choice. He had lived a quiet life for years, avoiding wars, avoiding causes, but now fate had delivered one to his door. He could throw her out, keep his peace, pretend he never saw her, or he could stand, once more, against the shadows he thought he had left behind. Finally, he rose, his eyes sharp, his voice steady. "You can stay here tonight," he said. "But tomorrow, we find a way to hide you, properly, not just in shadows." The girl stared at him, shocked by his certainty. "Why?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Why would you help me? You don't even know me." His gaze hardened, and for a moment she saw the soldier he once was. "Because I've seen what happens when good men do nothing," he answered. "Not again, not this time." Her eyes softened, a tear slipping down her cheek. For the first time in her life, she felt the weight of kindness pressing against her fear. It was almost too much to carry, but she held it close, afraid it would vanish if she let go. As the night deepened, the soldier set an extra blanket near her, his steps heavy but his mind alert. He moved through the apartment, checking the window locks, scanning the street below, his instincts alive once more. Through the glass, he saw the distant hum of drones, their red eyes scanning the alleys like hunters in the dark. He knew they were looking for her, and it was only a matter of time before they came closer. The girl, half asleep in the chair, whispered softly, her voice drifting in the quiet room. They sold us, all of us, like broken tools, like we were nothing. I escaped, but the others. Her words faded, and she sank deeper into sleep, the jacket wrapped tight around her. The soldier stood in the shadows, watching, listening, his heart heavy. He had thought his war was over, but tonight, in his small apartment, another battle had already begun. The night was long, and the rain outside never stopped. The soldier barely slept, his mind alert, his body moving with old instincts that never truly faded. Every sound from the street below made him glance at the window. Every shadow across the wall made his hand twitch toward the old weapon hidden in a drawer. But the girl slept in the chair by the heater, her breathing soft, her glowing eyes closed, her strange marks faint under the fabric of his jacket. When morning came, the city lights dimmed, but never truly disappeared. Neon signs still burned, drones still floated above, and people still rushed through the streets like water through broken pipes. The soldier made simple food, bread, and heated broth, the only things he had. He placed it on the table and spoke gently. "Eat." The girl opened her eyes slowly, confusion flickering as if she expected the food to come with a price. Her hands shook as she reached for the bowl, whispering, "Thank you." He studied her carefully, the way she moved, the way her eyes darted toward the door, as if expecting someone to break it down. He knew she was hiding more than fear. There was a story buried deep inside her, a truth that could not stay hidden forever. So he asked, his voice calm but direct, "What do they put inside you?" The question froze her in place, her spoon trembling above the broth. Her eyes lifted to meet his, wide, glowing brighter than before. For a moment she looked ready to lie, to cover the truth with silence. But his gaze was too steady, too sharp. He was not a man she could fool, and she knew it. Slowly, she lowered the spoon, her lips parting as she whispered, "It is not a thing, it is a code." Her hands pulled back the sleeve of the jacket, revealing the faint marks glowing along her skin, shifting like moving lines of light. "These symbols, they are not tattoos, they are living patterns, they move with my blood." The soldier leaned closer, his eyes narrowing. "What kind of code?" he asked, his voice steady. Her throat tightened, fear pressing against her chest, but she forced the words out. "They say it is the map to a weapon, something ancient, something my people once locked away." Her voice broke as she added, "They carved it into us, into children, because our blood could carry it, and because no machine could erase it." Her hand shook as she covered the marks again, her face pale, her voice trembling. "They made us vessels, not people." The soldier felt anger rise in him, a slow burn that reached deep into his chest. The traffickers had not only stolen her freedom, they had turned her body into a cage for something far worse. He had seen cruelty in war, but this was another kind, colder, sharper, meant to use innocence as a weapon. "They're hunting you because of this code," he said, his voice heavy. The girl nodded slowly, tears glimmering in her glowing eyes. "They will not stop, not until they cut it out of me. And if they do, I will not live." Her words dropped like stones, the weight of her truth filling the room with silence. The soldier leaned back, his fists clenched, his mind racing. He understood now why the drones had been circling, why her fear ran so deep. She was not only a victim, she was a key, a living map, and the ones chasing her would burn a city to ash if it meant getting her back. "You should have told me sooner," he said firmly, though not unkindly. Her head dropped, shame pressing into her shoulders. "I was afraid," she whispered. "Every time I told the truth before, they sold me. They traded me. They hurt me." Her voice cracked as she added, "But you gave me shelter without asking, and I didn't know if I could risk losing that." The soldier's chest tightened, his anger shifting into something softer, heavier. He saw her not just as a carrier of some alien code, but as a child of war, broken and abandoned. He stepped closer, his hand steady as he placed it lightly on her shoulder. "Listen," he said, his tone calm but sharp with promise. "They will come for you. That much is true. But if they do, they will find me waiting." Her glowing eyes lifted to his, wide with shock. "You would fight for me? Even after knowing what I carry?" He nodded, his jaw set, his voice certain. "Because you're not just what they put inside you, you are still you. And that matters more than their code." Her breath caught, a single tear sliding down her cheek. For the first time, she felt seen, not as a vessel, not as a weapon, but as herself. The warmth of that truth wrapped around her stronger than the jacket, stronger than the heater. It was a new kind of shelter, one she had never known. But outside, the shadows were already moving. Drones circled lower. Signals bounced across the city. Whispers of a hunt spreading through hidden channels. The soldier felt it in his bones, the same way he once felt battle coming. The truth was revealed, but now the storm was only beginning. The morning light never truly reached this city. Tall towers blocked the sun, and the glow of neon signs ruled the streets even at dawn. The soldier stood at the window, watching the sky where black drones drifted like vultures, their red lights flashing as they scanned the blocks below. He could feel it in his bones. The hunt had already begun. Behind him, the girl sat quietly, the jacket wrapped tight around her small frame. Her glowing eyes followed his movements, reading the tension in his shoulders, the way his jaw clenched with each passing drone. "They're close, aren't they?" she whispered, her voice soft but certain. He did not answer, but his silence was louder than words. He moved to a cabinet in the corner and pulled it open. Inside were old weapons, carefully kept, polished though unused for years. Rifles, blades, tools of war that he had sworn never to touch again. The sight of them made her tremble, but also gave her a strange sense of safety. She realized then that he was not just a soldier in posture, but in truth. The soldier checked the rifle with steady hands, his eyes sharp. "If they come, we won't have time to run," he said. "They will sweep the building, and if they find you, it ends here." His words carried no fear, only fact, the kind of truth only a warrior could speak. The girl shook her head, her voice breaking. "You shouldn't fight for me. They'll kill you too. They'll burn everything. I'm not worth that." Her hands clutched at the jacket, as if holding herself together. But he turned, his eyes steady, his voice iron. "Don't say that. You are worth more than what they made you believe." For a moment, silence filled the room, broken only by the faint hum of the heater and the distant whine of drones. The girl's tears shimmered, but she forced herself to breathe, to stand. "If we run, maybe we can hide," she whispered, her voice shaking but brave. "Not here, not in the open city, but somewhere they cannot see." The soldier studied her carefully, then nodded once. He strapped the rifle to his back and pulled a small pack from under the bed. Inside were supplies he had kept for years, a soldier's habit never abandoned: water, rations, old maps. He tossed a scarf to her. "Cover your face, your eyes will give you away." She obeyed quickly, wrapping the cloth tight, though the faint glow still shimmered beneath. They moved to the door, every step slow, every sound loud in their ears. The soldier opened a crack, scanning the hallway, his instincts sharp. The building was quiet, but too quiet. He felt the weight of danger pressing in, unseen but near. They slipped out, his hand lightly guiding her as they moved down narrow stairs instead of the main lift. He led her through service corridors, forgotten passages that only someone with a soldier's memory would know. But the city was alive with watchers, and soon the sound of drones grew louder. A red light flashed across the wall, and the girl froze, her breath caught. The soldier pulled her close, pressing her into the shadows. The drone passed, its scanner sweeping just inches away. Her heart raced so hard she thought it would burst, but the soldier held her steady, silent, until the danger passed. When they reached the street, the city roared around them. Crowds moved like rivers. Cars hummed along magnetic rails. Neon signs burned in the foggy air. To anyone else, it was noise chaos, but to the soldier it was cover. He pulled her hood lower, his hand firm on her shoulder, guiding her into the current of people. "Stay close. Don't look back," he said, his voice like steel. For a moment, hope flickered, the crowd swallowing them as if they could vanish inside it. But hope was short. Above, 3 drones shifted formation, their red eyes sweeping faster. A piercing tone cut through the air, an alarm. The girl's blood ran cold, her marks glowing faintly under her sleeves. "They've found me," she whispered, her voice breaking. The soldier didn't hesitate. His hand gripped her wrist, pulling her into a narrow alley. The sound of drones grew louder behind them, engines whining, commands echoing in a language she didn't know. He moved with speed and precision, his steps sharp, every motion calculated. They weaved through markets, cut through shadowed lanes, climbed over fences, but the hunters were closing in. Finally, he shoved her behind a steel door, pushing it open with a heavy shoulder. Inside was an abandoned workshop, filled with dust and rusted tools. He slammed it shut and dropped the bar across it, breathing hard but steady. The girl clutched his sleeve, her voice shaking. "They won't stop, not until they catch me." He turned to her, his eyes burning with a fire she had not seen before. "Then let them come," he said, his voice like thunder. "If they want to fight, they will find one." The girl's heart pounded, fear and hope mixing into something she had never felt before. For the first time, she believed she was not alone in the chase. The soldier had chosen, and now the hunters would learn what it meant to chase prey protected by a human. The workshop was dark, dust floating in the thin beams of light that slipped through cracks in the roof. The soldier stood near the bar door, his rifle in hand, his body tense, his breathing steady like a man preparing for battle. The girl crouched behind an old table, clutching the scarf tighter around her glowing eyes, her heart racing as the hum of drones grew louder outside. She could feel in her blood, the marks on her skin burning faintly, as if they were pulling the hunters closer with every second. The soldier's voice was low but firm. "They're here." The words were not filled with fear, but with certainty, the kind only a fighter carried. He moved quickly, sliding an old metal shelf against the door, his movements sharp and efficient. The girl whispered, "We can still run," but her voice held no real hope. He shook his head, his eyes never leaving the thin cracks of light at the edges of the door. "Running won't stop them. Not anymore. If we run, they will only chase harder." The sound came suddenly, metal striking against metal, the heavy thud of boots, the electric whine of scanners. The hunters had arrived, not just drones, but armored figures, their shadows long against the glowing fog outside. The girl pressed her hands against her ears as the door shook, the steel bar rattling under the force. Her body trembled, tears filling her glowing eyes. "They'll break through," she whispered. The soldier's jaw tightened, his grip on the rifle firm. "Then we make them regret it," he said. The door burst inward with a violent crash, sparks flying as the bar bent and snapped. Figures poured in, tall and armored, their eyes hidden behind black helmets, their weapons glowing with alien light. The girl screamed softly, curling into the shadows, but the soldier moved like a storm. He fired the rifle with sharp precision, each shot loud and final, dropping the first 2 hunters before they crossed the threshold. The others rushed forward, their weapons flashing with energy bolts, burning holes into the walls, filling the workshop with smoke and fire. The soldier rolled across the floor, firing again, his movements practiced, every step a memory of battles long past. He slammed his shoulder into one figure, driving a knife into the weak point under its armor, pulling it down with brutal strength. The girl watched in shock, her glowing eyes wide. She had never seen a human fight like this, never seen one move with such deadly focus. It was as if the war had never ended for him, as if his body had been waiting for this moment. But the hunters were many, and for every one that fell, more pushed through the door. The girl's marks burned brighter, her body trembling as power surged inside her. She pressed her hands to the ground, her voice breaking. "I can help." The soldier shouted over the chaos. "No, stay hidden," but it was too late. A wave of energy burst from her hands, a shield of glowing light that spread across the room. Bolts of alien fire struck it and shattered like glass, the hunter stumbling back in shock. The soldier glanced at her, his eyes wide, but only for a second before he used the moment. He charged forward, firing point blank, slamming one enemy into the wall, crushing another under his boot, his rifle a weapon and a shield both. The clash shook the workshop, the walls cracking, the air filled with smoke, fire, and light. The girl cried out as the marks on her skin flared brighter, her body almost glowing, her energy feeding into the shield that kept them alive. But she was weak, trembling, her voice breaking. "I can't hold it." The soldier dropped another hunter with a brutal strike, then shouted back, his voice fierce. "Just a little longer, I'll finish this." He fought like a man possessed, every strike precise, every motion filled with rage and purpose. The hunters had numbers, but he had will, the unbroken spirit of a human who refused to yield. One by one, they fell until the floor was littered with broken armor and sparking weapons. Finally, silence filled the air, broken only by the crackle of smoke and the girl's weak breathing. The soldier lowered his rifle, his chest rising and falling, sweat dripping down his face. He turned to the girl, who collapsed her knees, the glow of her marks fading slowly. Her voice was faint, shaking. "I didn't mean to show you, I didn't want you to die." He knelt beside her, placing a steady hand on her shoulder, his voice calm despite the wreckage. "You saved me, and I saved you. That's how it works." She looked up at him, tears shining in her glowing eyes, her lips trembling as she whispered, "No one has ever fought for me before. Not like this." The soldier's gaze was steady, his voice strong. "Then remember this. You are not a vessel, not a weapon. You are worth fighting for." Outside, more drones circled, their lights flashing through the cracks. The battle was not over, not yet. But in that moment, within the broken workshop, the girl no longer felt like prey. She was no longer alone. And the hunters had learned what it meant to chase someone under the protection of a human. The workshop was silent now, filled with the smell of smoke and the sparks of broken machines. The soldier stood among the wreckage, his rifle lowered but still ready, his eyes scanning every shadow. The girl sat against the wall, her body weak, her glowing eyes half closed, her marks fading slowly into her skin. She looked fragile, almost too small for the weight she carried, but alive, and that was enough. Outside, the drones circled but did not enter again. Perhaps the hunters who had fallen sent a message, or perhaps the enemy was pulling back to regroup. The soldier knew it would not last. More would come, stronger, better prepared. But for now, they had a moment of silence, a moment to breathe. He walked over to her, kneeling so their eyes met. "You held the shield longer than I thought possible," he said, his voice calm, but carrying respect. Her lips trembled as she whispered, "I thought I would break, but you kept fighting, so I had to keep going." The faintest smile touched his face, the kind he had not worn in years. "You did more than survive. You fought," he said firmly, "and that makes you stronger than they ever wanted you to be." The girl's throat tightened, a tear slipping down her cheek. She had been told all her life that she was nothing, only a vessel, a tool, a cage for a code. But here was a human soldier telling her she was more, and somehow she believed him. For the first time, the chain she carried inside her felt lighter. The soldier stood and offered her his hand. "Come on," he said. "We can't stay here. The city will burn around us if we wait." She took his hand, her small fingers trembling in his, and he pulled her gently to her feet. Her legs were weak, but his presence steadied her. His strength became her strength. They stepped out into the broken street, the sky above glowing with neon and storm clouds. The city was still alive, still cruel, but now it felt different. She was not alone in it anymore. The soldier walked with her, his body tense, but his steps certain. She asked softly, Where will we go? He looked toward the horizon, the towers stretching far, the roads endless. Somewhere they won't find us, somewhere we choose. Not them, he answered. As they moved through the shadows, the girl spoke again, her voice quiet. Why did you help me when you could have walked away? The soldier's gaze stayed forward, but his words came steady. Because I know what it feels like to be abandoned, and because someone had to choose differently this time. Her heart ached, but in a good way, a way that felt new. She realized she was not only safe with him, but she was also seen. Not as a weapon, not as a price, but as someone worth saving. The weight of her $2 in her pocket suddenly felt meaningless, because she had found something more valuable than money. They crossed through alleys, through empty markets, past the broken signs of shops long forgotten. Everywhere they went, danger could be hiding, but the soldier never faltered. His hand stayed near his weapon, his eyes scanned, his steps silent but strong. She stayed close behind, her scarf hiding her glow, her heart trusting him more with each passing step. At last, they reached the edge of the city where the towers thinned and the open roads began. The air was colder here, cleaner, the sound of drones fading behind them. The girl stopped, looking back one last time at the city that had nearly swallowed her. Then she turned forward, her eyes glowing faintly in the dark. This is the first time I don't feel like prey, she whispered. The soldier glanced at her, his voice steady. That's because you're not prey anymore, not while I'm here. She looked up at him, her lips trembling, and then she smiled, small but real. The kind of smile that comes after surviving the storm. The kind that holds hope. Together, they stepped onto the road, the neon glow of the city fading behind them. The world ahead was uncertain, filled with danger and shadow. But it was also filled with possibility. For the girl, it was a chance at freedom. For the soldier, it was a chance at redemption. And for both, it was a new beginning,